Hey guys, I'm Katie.
And I'm Alexis, and this is the Check Your Aesthetic podcast. Katie's nervous.
Before we were recording, I pressed the record and I was like, why am I nervous?
It's not like we haven't recorded literally 50 other times before
Yeah, this episode 51. So next episode is 1 whole year.
1 year. Yes.
And we have something super exciting for that.
We will be announcing at the end of the episode. So if you want to know, and I'm pretty sure 50%
pretty sure everybody knows, but anyway, just stick around. But me and Alexis actually haven't talked in that's a lie, while. But we haven't really talked. I've been busy with work/school, and so have you. You're on your school break right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I start school on Monday. So that's exciting. I need to
what are you taking this semester?
See, the thing is with creative business leadership, all the classes, their names are so weird. Oh. So I don't really know what the class is until I take it.
It's like a surprise.
So I think, well, one of my books is How to Lead. So that, and it has
a leadership class.
Yeah, it has a lot of female and some male leaders on the cover. So I'm thinking it's that. But I think it's more of a history kind of class, sort of, but in the context of leadership. And then I have, and then the next one is, so it's something, it's a long title. I can figure it out, and when I start next week, I'll tell you guys what it's called. But it's the other classes, or the other class that I'm taking is creative research, which don't know what that is. Yeah, but I have for my leadership class, I have, I think, 1 book, and then for my research class, I have 5. So
yeah, my school. So I don't know if I've talked about school since I started on the podcast. We kind of recorded.
Think you have, really.
Yeah, we recorded a lot in advance, and then guests and stuff. But yeah, so I started school. For everybody wondering what my program is, it's online, but I'm going to University of Florida, and I'm getting my master's in mass communications with a social media specialization, which is a mouthful. Every time I tell somebody, they're like, whoa. I'm like, yeah. But yeah, so there's a social media certificate you can get from UF, but you can also, I'm getting my full master's. So it's basically the certificate combined with a master's in mass comm.
Okay.
So so I started 3 weeks ago now, I believe. Because next week will be week 4. And I'm only taking 2 classes because I'm working part-time. So I'm taking, what am I taking? Intro to social media, and then mass comm theory. They're both very easy. We were talking about
your classes, a lot of them, you were saying to me earlier, is people that haven't been in school for a long time / people that don't really know about social media. So it's you already have a large leg up on that.
Yeah, exactly. I literally also coffee ASMR. I can't even hear it because my headphones, but this is what I do. This is my whole thing. This is what I majored in undergrad and everything. So it's pretty simple right now, but it's nice because I told my coworkers I'm a nerdy girl. But I would research social media stuff myself.
Yeah.
Before, just because it's really important to keep up with things if you're working in social media management, which also this episode is about social media and managing multiple accounts and being a social media manager, since we both are. But I would do that on my end. So it's just kind of assignments, but I'm really enjoying my program so far. Obviously it's not very social being online, but that's okay because I have work and all that to keep me social. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing. School. I launched.
She launched off.
Had a launch, so that was fun. If you're watching YouTube, I'm using one of my cups, and this straw is too big for this cup. But
yeah, I realized straw is comically large.
I realized before I realized before we started recording that I hadn't had coffee this morning, and I am, in all honesty, a little bit hungover. So I decided I should have some.
Yes.
But
Katie FaceTimed me earlier today, and she FaceTimed me, and I was like, do you need to tell me something? Because I need to tell you something. She was like, you can tell me something. And then I like went off, and then she's like, I'm really hungover. I was like, oh.
I had like under eye patches on. Like
Mm-hmm.
I literally woke up, my eyes were like swollen. Anyway, I'm just, it's, I'm just 22. I'm just so.
She's just like living her life.
I'm
like,
just young and I'm
just
free.
Like a city girl.
I'm crazy, but I'm free. Oh my God. I do a lot of the times think about though, like, especially when I'm scrolling on TikTok, like you and me live very different lives. Like you live in the middle of nowhere, Vermont, and I live in, you live in Vermont is already the middle of nowhere.
Yes. If you're saying Vermont is the middle of nowhere, I'm fine with that. But I definitely do not live in the middle of nowhere, Vermont.
Yes. But like, I imagine that. Can we just say it?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. The big announcement is that I'm going to visit Alexis 5 days from now. So next Wednesday, we're recording this on Friday. You're hearing this on Monday or Tuesday, and I'm visiting Alexis on Wednesday. So,
well, we won't be in Vermont until Thursday afternoon.
Yeah,
because we are going to Boston. So I'm picking Katie up from the airport, but then we are going to be staying. We got like, oh, it's so exciting. We got like,
I'm so excited.
We got like a nice hotel and with like city views, city girl. And we're gonna be staying there, just like traipsing around the streets of Boston, and then we're gonna drive the next day to
but yeah, so I mean, it's like we're getting a lot of content, a lot of things happening, but I'm visiting for the 1 year. So
yes, but anyways, that all of that to say, yes, you will see. I want next week when we record together in person, you will have to update if you think it is the middle of nowhere. I think you still probably will think it is, but
because I mean, like Birmingham isn't like huge compared to like big cities, but for a southern city other than Atlanta, like it's pretty big. I would say in general. But anyway,
I mean, compared to Birmingham, like
but I'm interested to see. I'm very excited. We've had this planned for a while, but we didn't want to say anything too early because we all know what happened last time. So
yes, and also good. Just like with everything in the world right now, like,
exactly. And this is all barring any illness. We're being safe.
Yeah, we're very safe.
We know the vibes, but so that's what's happening. It's going to be so exciting. I can't believe it. Alexis's therapist was like, are you nervous to spend a week with somebody you've never met? And Alexis was like, no.
Yeah, that is like the funniest thing because she doesn't. I just started therapy like a couple weeks ago, so that was only my second time. So she doesn't really like know much about like my life yet. So I just thought it was so funny, like from an outside perspective, to be like, yeah, like because I said that we have a podcast, but I was just like, I just called you my like best friend / business partner because like. Just for someone that doesn't know what it is, it's just easier. And then she was like, is that going to be weird for you? And I was like, no, it's not weird.
No. We have talked about like, what if it's like super awkward when we meet and we're like,
I'm going to make it awkward.
No, you're not. Jesus
no,
Christ.
Like on purpose.
No, because then I'll leave.
Anyway. He said that I was going to side hug her.
Nice to meet.
Hey.
Us in the airport. Anyway, but watch out. There's going to be TikToks. There's going to be Reels. There's going to be other things. Yikes. There's going to be so many Instagram stories. So watch out. Some of you, when you're listening to this, I'm sure you already know.
Yeah.
But for the early weekers,
yes,
the sitting on your edge of the seat for the next episoders, get ready.
Oh, someone just peeled out. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it sounded like a scream actually.
Crazy. It was someone going.
It was so crazy.
So crazy.
It's
Oh, I
insane.
did want to talk about my 2 classes that I finished a couple weeks ago,
Oh
because
yeah.
I don't think I talked about that.
I don't think
Did
you
I?
talked about finishing them,
Yeah.
but you did talk about them.
So my 2 classes, one was my accounting class, and then the other one was my business class, creative business. And I finished, and I'm very proud with my final grade for those classes. Very proud of myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've gotten a lot of questions about the creative, oh, hello, Winston. The creative business leadership program. Winston, can you
Hey, Winnie.
um but I've gotten a lot of questions about it, and so I wanted to just give like a little overview of like a couple of the classes. So accounting, that was like very obviously math centered, and I
Hmm.
had never taken like I obviously in high school and like early college I took like math,
Yeah.
but
Math.
calculus and geometry, all that
Yeah.
jazz. Um, but then I had never taken like an applicable kind of math class.
Hmm.
But so I was really nervous to get into accounting. And to be honest, it was like pretty hard for me in the first couple weeks, because it
That
was just
was
like
part of the reason that we
that was
canceled
part of
our
the reason
initial
why
trip.
it was because of accounting,
Yeah. And
literally.
also, as you'll notice, we switched up. I'm going to Alexis first rather than her coming here, which she was supposed to come here first.
Yes.
And then anyway, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think it worked out for the best. I think
I
it would
agree.
have been it wouldn't have, not that you and I wouldn't have been good, but just like our situations, it's gonna work like
Hmm.
so much better with you coming here first.
Yeah. Anyway.
But anyways, so yeah, accounting was really hard, but now that I started to get into the groove of it, and I genuinely feel like it will help like my business so much. I feel
Definitely.
like it will help like if I want to go if I want to go into like creative, like to be a creative director, that's going to
Hmm.
help me so much like in more of a corporate setting, like
And it's just like an
understanding.
understanding too. Like it's not even like you
Yeah,
don't want to do like be an accountant, but it's like
right.
understanding how it works.
It's really like a language, and I feel
Yeah.
like I'm so much better set. And then my business class,
You're
I
bilingual now.
yes. And then
Fluent
my
in accounting.
fluent in accounting. I was really feeling myself those last few weeks of accounting. I was like telling
Hmm.
everyone that I was like basically an accountant.
Period.
Um,
Good for
period.
you.
She's an accountant. Um, and then my business class, we it was like very much like creativity centered, but like in a business sense, obviously.
Hmm.
So we had to like find or choose a business to like do this, like an already existing business to do this huge project on. It ended up being like, I don't even know how many pages. It was like a very long
Yeah.
like thesis type of thing. But it ended up making me feel so much, again with accounting, like I feel so much more confident in a lot of those like
Yeah.
language type of thing. And also I
Hmm.
was able to kind of connect the dots from, since like you and I have said so many times, like we didn't go into this planning on creating a business, so it's not like we have that like formal education in
Hmm.
like, this is what, like I already kind of knew. I had taken one small business class
Hmm.
in the past during my like undergrad, but this was just like so much more applicable,
Yeah.
and really helpful. So if anybody needs, like wants to talk about SCAD or creative business leadership, I could also do another episode talking about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, just DM me. So
Yeah. But like we said, today we're going to talk about becoming a social media manager, being a social media manager, and also just the idea of like managing multiple social accounts and how to juggle those. But we already, I guess we just gave the intros to like our program. So as you can tell, and if you listen, like not only are we getting different degrees and stuff, and do we have different histories, but like we don't want to do the same thing. Alexis
no.
wants to become like a creative director ideally, and I want to be a social media manager for like my career. So I think we both have interesting perspectives. We are both currently social media managers. If you're new here and you don't know, I work in an agency and Alexis works in-house. So Alexis is running all the socials for one business. I'm running multiple social accounts for multiple different businesses. So yeah, we just kind of wanted to talk about our experience. I get questions all the time on like how I became a social media manager, like this and that, like what do you need to do that? Because I think it's a really growing, like the field is growing
industry.
a lot. Yeah. Thank you. I was struggling. But yeah, so in my experience, I guess just to give a little bit more background, I majored in mass media communications, but I actually created my own major. So it was very heavy in the marketing classes and then like some journalism, like writing classes, which was helpful for like copywriting purposes. And then a couple media film studies classes, which just taught me how to use a camera basically, and a little bit about storytelling. And then like one computer science class. So it was kind of random, but it all worked together to give me like a good basis of understanding. But the reason that I decided to get my master's is because I wanted that specialized like social media training. So yeah. And then Alexis, as you'll know, majored in art education, which she did not want to, but she did.
Yes.
Winston is losing it.
Sorry guys. Winston, you need to stop. Yeah, so I majored in art education, which like Katie said, I didn't want to do. I got free tuition to the school that I ended up attending, but they didn't have a program that I was super interested in. So I went for art education because it was just the most like applicable to me, knowing that eventually I would most likely be going to grad school. And then really like the timeline for me was that of how I got into social media management. I'm really grateful that I didn't go to grad school right outside or right after undergrad. That's kind of getting into a whole other topic. I feel like I've talked about this on the podcast before. But I originally planned to go for graphic design. And if I had gone right away and not had the like trajectory that I did, I would have gone for graphic design. And then I would have ended up getting like a corporate job in graphic design, and then ended up hating my life basically. Not really, but you know what I mean. And so I got a job at a preschool because of my degree, and I do love kids, so it like, you know, it was like a good, you know, placeholder kind of job. And then the pandemic happened, and I was also working in a dance studio as a dance teacher. Pandemic happened, and I was working like for freelance, and I realized through that I wanted to be a creative director, which basically I just realized that, which I had always kind of known that I wanted more of like a leadership role, but I didn't know in what capacity. And then I had already started looking at SCAD and the Creative Business Leadership Program. And they have like a list of careers that like align well with that degree, and one of them was creative direction, and I realized that was like perfect for me. And then from there I realized, okay, while I'm going to grad school, I need a job that one is part-time, so I have time to go to full-time school, that I can also have, it needs to be remote so that I can do like still run my business, have like time freedom, that kind of stuff. And then I feel like Winston is just
wreaking havoc outside.
Yeah, he's doing something. Whatever. He won't die.
Winnie.
I really should have put him in the kennel.
Y'all, she has a kennel for her cat. A kennel.
I do have a kennel
for her cat. I never heard of a cat with a kennel.
It all started because we had this huge kettle that my mom gave to us for when he got taken home from the Humane Society, and then we just kept it, and then he loves it in there though. He'll like sleep in there.
Oh my god.
But then we also put him in there when he's being naughty. Like right now, which I can hear him like in the sink or something being weird. But anyways, so what was I talking about?
You needed a job that was remote.
Yes, I needed a job that was remote and that I could like I said, do alongside school. And so then I also realized that if I was going to become a creative director, I needed experience in the types of fields that like I would be leading, because you can't just like go into a leadership field not having any experience or
Yeah.
knowledge and be like, this is how you do it when you don't actually
Mhm.
know what you're talking about.
Mhm.
So I basically used my experience with the business and the podcast and my education and everything and was able to get my job with Eat Smarter.
Yeah, so I work in an agency and Alexis works in-house. And I think we could spend like a whole episode talking about the differences between those two.
Totally.
But we will spare that for another
Mhm.
another time. But yeah, so both of us obviously are managing multiple social accounts. I'm managing more than her as far as like different people, but like Alexis manages her own Eat Smarter, all of Eat Smarters, and then
Yeah.
we both do the podcast.
Yeah.
And then I manage anywhere, depending on the time, anywhere from 5 to 12 for my job. And
Yeah.
then I manage my own, I manage the podcast as well. And I'm trying to think, I manage my dogs. But yeah, so I think that's something that, and this is especially pertinent to agency life, I guess, but something that like Alexis and I were talking about when we were prepping for this episode that I think is really important to talk about is like, I think it can be really easy to kind of put your own, and
Your
you
own
should always,
aesthetic, your own, yeah,
your own sort of taste into other people's accounts that you're running. And most, if you're running social media for a good established brand, they should have a brand book, they should have a logo, they should have colors, they should have probably a brand guide that has like words you can use, words you can't use. And I'm sure you'll get that when you start working there. If they don't have one, I would recommend suggesting that they make one so that they aren't constantly having things change as they hire new social media managers. But you'll usually receive something like that, or at least something along those lines, some sort of information. And I think it can be really easy to be like, oh, but I love designing things that are pink. I love it. But like their colors are blue. Like you just got to let it go. Like, and for me, in my experience, I've worked with lawyers. I've worked with restaurants. I've worked with my sorority. I've worked with like literally like doctors, pharmacies, like so many different things. And obviously like you're getting really different things from all of those people. Like some are very, very professional. Some are more fun. And I think that it can definitely be hard to kind of not be like, oh, I want it all to be like trendy and cute. Yeah. But that's not always like, right. So that's kind of like, we wanted
it's
to
like it's the voice behind, it's like the voice is part of like captions and everything of like how you're doing the copy, but then it's also how you're doing the graphics. Like you said, a lawyer isn't going to have like a gold crown on the bot, you know, like it's really just like the message that you're getting across. And I think that also if you work in graphic design or if you have any type of experience, it's the same thing. So you're not going to have on the opposite end of things, you're not going to have like a cupcake business that has like, you know, very formal like type, very formal like wording and like copy and everything. So same thing there. And Katie messaged not putting like your own spin, but then I think also like, yes, obviously it's good when a business has the things like given to you, like this is how you do things, but sometimes that's not how it's going to happen. And also, Eat Smarter, I love you. Julie, my boss, if you're listening, I love you and I love my job so much. But I think that at times, they can give you a package, but that might be old. It has not been updated. And so if you are a social media manager and you're getting something and you're like, what you're giving me doesn't look like what was happening, then I would suggest asking. Because I had experience with, I was given a logo, I was given colors and everything, and I started making graphics. And then I got feedback like, no, we actually want this. And it was completely different colors. So if you guys go on to Eat Smarter, the logo is like green and orange. A lot of the, you know, graphics and everything are green and orange. And so that's kind of the vibe that I was going for stories. And then really we base everything, Germany is like where Eat Smarter was started.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just base everything off of what they do basically. And they have kind of a blue aesthetic for
Mm-hmm.
just for their stories though.
Mm-hmm.
And so like personally, I wouldn't do that, but sometimes you just have to, like you said in the very beginning before we started talking about this, sometimes you just kind of have to let your opinion go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really hard, especially when you have been working freelance and you get to make like the
Yeah.
decisions kind of.
Mm-hmm.
In this sense, you really have to be just being like, okay, yes, and then
Yeah.
go
And
along with it.
I think like also where this gets a little dicey, and I'm sure some of you are listening and you're like, ah. But like obviously, yes, they hired you for a reason. You don't want to just do blindly what they say. Like I have a lot of experience with clients who sometimes, and sometimes this means graphics, and sometimes this means like analytics and things like that. Like sometimes this is more about like the way people interact. And like sometimes I have clients who like, for example, some of my clients will sometimes like, obviously they want to grow their following. Sometimes they'll go on like follow sprees where they'll just follow. And like that's my job, is to say, I understand that, I know this, and I know that this is not going to help. And every single time they're like, oh, didn't know. Like they don't know, they hired you for a reason.
Right.
But
exactly.
As far as like graphics go, and as far as like messaging goes, unless you really have an educated reason why, like, I think that it would be better. Like say that you're working for a company that has no color scheme, 100% go to your boss and be like, hey, I'd love to make us a messaging guide. I'd love to make us some colors and fonts to guide it. And, you can approve it. I think that's great. But basically what me and Alexis are saying is like, if you don't like the color blue that is the logo for the business you're working for, too bad, so sad, But like, I think there's a line between like, obviously you don't want to just be like some sort of robot doing like exactly what is in the messaging guide, because then they could just do it themselves. And if there's not a messaging guide, then just doing exactly what was done before, because creativity is really big in social media. I mean, really big, because and that's how you like
a lot of the time.
You go
ahead.
All you.
Okay. Me. But basically what I was going to say is just that if you are in social media, most likely you have a skill set in that field. You have knowledge that others do not. And a lot of the time, especially when I first started, I thought that a lot of the knowledge that I had was common knowledge, and that my coworkers that were not in the social media side of things knew what I was talking about. And a lot of the time they don't.
No. And
they
like
might
some
have
people
like a little inkling, but like,
especially if you've never had access to an Instagram business account or a Facebook business account, like if your accounts are all personal, that's just a whole side of things. You don't even know what's available,
Exactly.
And like, I think there's just a lot that also, as people who are our age, there's a lot that we know that somebody even 5 years older, like, so my best friend's roommate is 27. And my best friend has been telling me, she's like, I literally educate them on all of this social media stuff because they hate Instagram. They only use Snapchat, and they don't know like what's going on Instagram. Like they don't know how it works. Like they don't like it. And so like things like that. She's 27. That's not that much. That's 2 years older than, like 3 years older than Alexis.
Yeah, it's 3 years older than me.
So like, I think that that's something that's important. And I think in my experience, if you are going to make a suggestion, always having the education to back it up. You don't have to go to school. You can just look up an article. If you know it, and you know it because of experience, look up an article, it'll confirm it and be like, look, this is where I know this from. And they will be so happy that you told them, but you just have to, I think, have like reasons. But also, as far as like managing multiple accounts, that was the question that kind of sparked this all. It was in the question box. It was like, how do you like kind of switch between? And I'm doing that all day at work, like all day, every day. I've never spent, maybe once have I spent a full day on one account, but at work currently, just to give you a span of my clients, I'll just name off a couple: a dating app, a realtor, a restaurant, an architecture firm. Like we're all over the map. So
very different aesthetics, I'm assuming.
Oh yes. So in my experience, y'all are gonna be like, this is not helpful. I usually will follow like what my mood is that day. Like if I'm feel like that's the beauty. If I sit down and I'm like, if I have to design one more graphic for this dating app, then I'm going to die, which I never feel like that, because that's one of my favorite clients. But then I can easily switch. So I think that's something that I like to do, is like make use of that. And like, that's a great thing about working at an agency. But also between clients, I like to give myself a break and maybe go back to like, I manage my company's social media, like do something for that between. Cause that's like, I really, really like, that's very natural to me. It's like, it's the closest to my aesthetic, I would say. But yeah, so kind of giving yourself like a reset or giving yourself a break between clients. But also switching it up is a good way to engage multiple parts of your brain throughout the day. And as far as creating content for all of those clients, like I always have something to go back to, whether it's their logo, it's their colors, it's their voice. And so kind of just like making sure you're staying true to that will always get you kind of on the right path with all that stuff.
Yeah, and I also think that like within switching content, because for me, like I just run Eat Smarter, but I do, you know, the Facebook, Pinterest, we have a Twitter, but there's not much there. Instagram, and we have a YouTube, but again, not much there. But really for me, like what helps my brain, like once I start to get bored with Instagram, then I can switch over to Pinterest. Scheduling things out is like really the best. And I think also understanding that within each platform, you need to have like a slightly different like plan, I guess, both design wise and algorithm wise and like engagement wise. One big thing was YouTube thumbnails for us, actually, for the podcast.
We got in a fight. Just kidding. We didn't get in a fight.
We did not get in a fight. But I'm doing the YouTube thumbnails, and I think really like obviously we want it to still be on brand, but the thumbnails shouldn't look exactly like an Instagram post, because it's not going to be as engaging and as like clickbaity kind of. So yeah, just knowing your platform, like a Pinterest pin is going to look a bit different than an Instagram post. So just knowing that, I would say for switching between accounts, also like within switching through accounts, also know your platform within that account. But yeah, we got a question that was just about I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but it was basically just like, how do you manage switching between all of the accounts that you manage? And I think really what Katie said is like always just going back to not only the fonts, patterns, colors, and voice, but also like the message behind them. Just knowing like what is the point.
That's certainly the most important thing. Like I also think that sometimes it's hard because like there are some clients that I manage for the company that I work for. Actually, most of my clients, we got them before I came, so I learned everything I know from my coworkers. But like gathering the right information at the beginning when you onboard a client and gathering enough information, you should understand them. You are an extension of their business. You should really, really understand it. If you don't, you should ask. So like you need to know all of the right things to be able to effectively manage their socials. But yeah, I mean, this is just good social media practice in general, is like, you're right. Like the message, like, what are you trying to communicate? Like, what are you trying to get across? So like for realtors, for me, sometimes they're trying to be like, I can sell your home, but sometimes some posts we're trying to be like, I can like help you buy a home. Like there's, you know, there can be different messages. But I think knowing kind of what the goals of your client are is always going to help you succeed. Cause I have some clients who they're like, I just want to gain followers. And I have some clients who are like, I don't care about followers. I care about engagement. I care about engagement, or like, I want to sell a house, or like, I want to, you know, this and that. And so I think asking the right questions is really important, and having that information, and don't be scared to reach back out to them, check in with them, be like, listen, do you still have the same goals? Are we still going for the same thing? Because the goals of the client really dictates like what you're doing on social, obviously.
Yeah. And I think that like within tone of voice, if it's sometimes like, I will admit, sometimes I will type out a caption and then read it back and be like, this sounds like Alexis Adams Co.
Yeah.
Like, erase, start again.
Yeah.
Thinking like if there are more than one social media manager in your company that you're working for, or obviously if there's been like a past one, sometimes I think, would my boss write it the same way that I'm writing it? Would the old social media manager write it in this way?
Yeah.
If someone came off, like randomly found Eat Smarter and read this, would they know that it is a 24, how old am I? 23,
24.
24, yep. 24-year-old like girl in Vermont, because I don't want them to know that. I want them to think, you know, it's like a, you know.
And
so
for me, like we have a copywriter on our team, so I'm not writing all of the captions, but most of the time I am, because she more does like blogs and stuff. But like there is a lot of times where I am speaking as somebody else.
Yes.
I am this realtor. Like I am that person. So that's when it becomes really important too, because like knowing how they want to come across and basically being able to put yourself in their shoes. And also something that is kind of a side note that I think a lot of people don't think about. A big part of running somebody's social accounts is engaging for them. Obviously that's important. So like our packages include engagement. Yeah. Liking the right things that send the right message, commenting on the right things that send the right message.
And commenting with the right thing too.
Exactly. Well. Yes. So like all of that, what you like speaks, what you comment on speaks, what you share speaks. So using all of that, it's all about strategy. It really is. And so I think like a lot of times people think when you're hiring a social media manager, you're paying them to post, you're paying them to make graphics, you're paying them to do this and that. But a lot of my time is spent sitting there thinking, okay, this is the goal. This is the target audience. Doing research. This is what that target audience wants. These are the questions they have. This is their, you know, pain point or like, and spending time saying, okay, with all of that in mind, this is the content that we're going to produce. This is what we're going to do. This is the goal, you know, and then obviously hashtag research and everything like that. But I think just as a little side point, like make sure if you are engaging on a client's platform or on a client's account
that you're talking as them.
Yes. And do not like things that do not align with their like mission and values. In general.
Agreed.
So, and like I have some clients that or have had some that are like inherently a little bit political. So that's really important too. Like if they want to stay apolitical, don't like political stuff. If they are certain political leaning that might not be the same as yours.
Yeah, you can't, you have to cut that out.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that that's really important too. And that's like something that people don't necessarily think about all the time. But do we want to chat a little bit about the actual like designing things for other people? Yes. I feel like people have questions about that. Yeah. So Alexis mentioned, I think like, and this, I remember when you started at Eat Smarter and you were designing things that like, I thought looked like Eat Smarter, but then it wasn't exactly on par with what they wanted. So I think it can be hard because for me, sometimes it's genuinely hard to design things that like,
you don't like.
Feel. Right. And even if you do like it, it just doesn't feel like you, but that's literally just part of being
a designer.
Yeah. And I think the reason that I love social media and the reason that I want to work in social media is because it very much combines I'm not a professional designer by any means, but with the passion that I have for like, I don't know, I just think it's fun to make graphics. Like, I just think they're fun.
Right.
But that's the kind of thing you're doing with social for most accounts. Like it's not as deep as like a logo and things like that.
Right.
So I'm able to do a little bit of that, a little bit of strategy, which is like kind of like my mathy brain engaged a little bit. Communication, which is like engagement and like messaging and all of that kind of stuff, like captions and all of that is like communication-y. So it kind of combines all of the things that I really love. So that is why I love it. But that being said, when you are running a social account for somebody else, you're probably creating graphics for them or like arranging photos or doing something of the sort.
Right.
So I think with that, it's like the look of things, that's when you really need to go back to that guide, in my opinion. Like go back to what you have, go back to what you have seen
and given, then basically.
Yes. And then where you bring your creativity in is like the content or like all of that stuff. Cause that's not given to you, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, like, I think that, like, just having, you know, a design's eye, you can still make things, because you can come in and maybe they haven't had a social media manager
Mm-hmm.
before. They are doing everything like by themselves, and they just don't have that like design's eye. They have a logo that someone else made for them freelance, but
Yeah.
that's like, and they were given colors and fonts and stuff, but they don't know how to implement those. So you can come in and you can make things look
Oh, exactly.
better.
Definitely.
But yeah, especially, and it is really hard. Like, I totally empathize with coming in and being like, this
Mm-hmm.
logo is like just not it.
Yeah.
But you know, you just gotta suck it up.
Exactly. Yeah. And all of
So
this that we're saying is not like come in and do exactly what they say. Like that's not what we're saying.
yeah,
I'm
no,
just
not
saying
at all.
when it starts to get hard and when you're sitting there and you're looking at something and you're like, this
Yeah,
this doesn't look like them.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
in my opinion, what always helps is going back to like old things that I've made that I'm like, this looks like them. Like what about this looks like them? Maybe it's the font, maybe it's the colors, maybe it's like, whatever. But yeah. And I do think something else that is a tip that I've kind of gathered from running so many social accounts is like, pay attention to everything everywhere you go when you're scrolling on social media, when you're looking at billboards, like literally everything, because you're working with so many industries that you have to be dialed into so many industries. That is one of the hardest things about my job. I know nothing about architecture, but now I do. Like you don't have an option. So I spend time reading architecture, like articles, like just trying to understand because you have to have a certain understanding of that industry to be able to run that account effectively. So that's another thing with like getting their intentions and like what they want. Like you have to educate yourself on the industry.
Right.
Like I'm sure Alexis, you spend time looking at Food Network, you spend time looking at like competitors, and y'all, we don't even need to say this, but we know you're not copying the competitors.
Right.
Competitor research is something that you do in social media. I've learned it in my classes. But yeah, so kind of just keeping your eyes open. And I know that like the best feeling ever is when I come up with like a creative idea for a client that I'm so excited about. And the way that I do that really is just like always being dialed into all those industries, which can definitely be hard, but it's definitely important. So
yes, very true. Love that.
Anyway, we just babbled a lot about all of that.
Wow,
please,
social media.
Please tell me why I'm nervous that people are going to be like, no, that's not true. I'm always nervous whenever we film episodes that like somebody's going to be like, that's not true. I'm going to be like,
we are definitely not. I mean, yes, obviously we have like social media management jobs, but they are not like we don't
work at Instagram.
Yeah, we don't work at Instagram. We are not getting paid like six figures by any means. Like we are not like, yes, I have that job title, but I would not consider myself like professional by like.
Exactly. And like, we're both learning, like I'm learning new things every day in my program.
Right.
But yeah, if you want to become a social media manager and if you have questions, you can DM either of us. But also if you have questions about either of our programs too.
Yeah. And if you guys have any requests for episode ideas that are related to social media.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's like my bread and butter. Like that's like what I want to do. And that's what I do.
Yeah.
My program so far. And I mean, as far as class titles go, I mean, obviously I haven't taken all the classes yet, but it's really helped me a lot. And like, I can tell that it's like exactly on par with what I want to do as far as being a social media manager. But yeah, also if you have questions about agency life and you want to ask me, I know that like, it's very different. And it's not for everybody. But yeah, if you have questions about that, shoot me a DM. But yes.
If you guys, I have not approved this with my boss, but oh well. If you want to apply to be an intern at Eat Smarter, you can DM Eat Smarter and I will send you the correct link. It is not paid, unfortunately. I very much apologize, but if you are in high school, you are also welcome to apply.
Yeah. And that's another thing, like getting as much experience as you can.
Yes.
Like with social media is amazing. I did so much in college, ran so many different accounts. And yeah, I mean, and of course we only touched the tip of the iceberg here about what it is to like manage multiple accounts. But we just gave some of our top advice, but I mean, we could have multiple episodes about this anyway, but yeah, no random questions this week because we just babbled for a really, really long time.
Wait, let's say our most excited thing for the trip.
Our most excited thing.
Or the thing we're most excited about.
Okay. meeting you. I don't know. Do you mean other than that?
Yeah, not us related, like what we're gonna do.
I'm excited about Boston because I love Boston, but like specifically like our hotel is like so dope.
I'm very
And
excited about that.
we're gonna go get like a good sushi dinner since we both love sushi. So I'm really excited about that. What about you?
I'm very excited about that. I'm excited I'm gonna like drive you around because it's literally gonna take 10 minutes because that's my town, but I'm gonna show you like where I went to elementary school and middle school and high school and bring you to my mom's house.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited to just like show you where I grew up and went to college and all that.
Yeah, that's always exciting. Is your college close to your house right now?
It's 10 minutes away.
Shocking.
And my elementary school, I could like walk.
Well, my college is also 10 minutes away from me. Anyway, whatever. But yeah, so definitely if you're listening to this early in the week, keep up with the stories. If not, go stalk the content. I cannot even imagine how amazing it's going to be. Also, Alexis is like 5 inches shorter than me. So it's going to be shocking.
Wait, what are you like?
I'm 5'5".
5?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you're 5 inches taller.
I'm like actually like nervous that it's going to like make it awkward. You know what I mean?
It's very much not. I mean, all of my friends are like year a height or taller. So
I don't know, it's a little weird. Anyway, no, but for real, we could not be more excited. It literally feels like insane.
It feels like we've already met though.
I know, but like we've been planning this. I mean, not this specific trip, but like we've been trying to make this happen for months and months and months and months. And we've known each other for almost 2 years now. So
like a year and a half.
Yeah. So it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. And it is very like, I think it's very, cinematic, not cinematic. I don't know the word. I'm not going to find the word. It's something that we, are like meeting on almost like the exact 1 year, anniversary of the podcast.
And it is. So it's we will be together on the 1 year anniversary of the first episode.
Yes.
Going out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Not when we announced it, but because it technically went out like a few days before. But
yeah, we were like didn't know how long it was going to take for it to upload, so we uploaded it multiple days before, and then it was up, and we were like,
Oh.
Anyway, but whatever.
Anyways.
Okay, well, thank you guys for listening. Be sure to leave us a rating and review on wherever you listen to your podcasts, and subscribe to keep up with our weekly episodes.
And then follow us on our Instagram account, Check Your Aesthetic Podcast, and our TikTok,
Check Your Aesthetic.
Yep. Also, like our Facebook group, CYA Community, and then follow us on our personal accounts, Katie Creative Co. and alexis.co, and we will talk to you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.